Welcome back. You're watching India Development Debate with me, Nayanthara Rai in New Delhi. Tomorrow, India will begin the biggest dance of democracy, the biggest election on this planet, also the world's most expensive election. Ahead of that, yesterday we had seen 66 retired civil servants writing to the President Ramnath Kovind, accusing the Election Commission of weak implementation of the Model Code of Conduct and favouring the incumbent government. Joining me right now, Vaibhav Agarwal, the spokesperson for the Bharatiya Janata Party, Sanjay Jha, the spokesperson for the Congress Party. We're also being joined by the former Chief Election Commissioner, T.S. Krishnamurthy, and Jawhar Sircar, the former Secretary of the Ministry of Culture of the Government of India. He also used to lead the Prasar Bharati, but the reason we also got him today is because he's one of the 66 former bureaucrats who wrote that letter to the President. Mr. Krishnamurthy, I believe you're only going to be joining us for 10 minutes. I hope I'll be able to convince you to stay for the entire duration of the show, that you will be enjoying the debate, but I will begin with you. Do you honestly believe the opposition when it claims that the Election Commission has played favorites, that it has not behaved autonomous, that different rules have applied to different parties? It's not just about Namo TV or the biopic. It has also said that the Election Commission looked the other way when income tax raids were being carried out against the Congress Chief Minister in Madhya Pradesh, Kamal Nath, his close aides, the kind of money that had been recovered. Where do you stand? What do you make of the behavior of the Election Commission in 2019?
The Election Commission has always been an independent body, and we are used to criticism from the political parties, whether they are in the opposition or whether in the ruling party. I think it is nothing new to the Election Commission. Now the question is, some people have questioned the credibility of this Election Commission. I'm afraid it is unfair, it is unwarranted. Let me tell you, one of the points that they have said, that Election Commission should have acted against the Rajasthan governor. Rajasthan governor is a constitutional authority. How does it come under the Model Code of Conduct? I do not know. Election Commission has already expressed its opinion against the statement, and they have sent it to the President of India. Why is it considered as a lack of credibility of the Election Commission? Similarly, they have questioned transfer of officers. Transfer of officers is permitted by the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has mandated that in the interest of free and fair elections, those who are indulging in election work, those who are involved in election work, can be transferred in the interest of free and fair election. When I was the Chief Election Commissioner, the Haryana Chief Minister, his DG wife was contesting the election. I told the Chief Minister, please transfer the DG from this post during the election period. His house cannot be used for electoral purposes. I was criticized royally by the Chief Minister, and I mildly threatened, saying that if you are not going to change him, I am going to defer the elections. This is the only Brahmastra that we have. Similarly, we had 2 or 3 states where we had the Chief Minister defy it first and then fell in line. So is this lack of credibility of the Election Commission? I'm appalled by the statement made in the letter about the lack of credibility of the election.
You know, in fact, Mr. Krishnamurthy, let's go to one of the signatories. You're saying you're appalled that the Election Commission maybe has a thick skin. It is used to these kind of charges that are being leveled because they don't like your decisions. So, Mr. Sircar, we've got you here in your capacity as one of the signatories of that letter to the President, leveling serious charges against the Election Commission. Why did you do it? I hope you will keep your response short and crisp. I have to still go to the BJP and the Congress, but name me 3 instances that you think were absolutely necessary. How will you counter what we've just heard Mr. Krishnamurthy say?
Lights what?
As a Election Commission, as a permanent agency, we have raised questions regarding the present incumbents and the present acts. The present incumbents and the present acts. The first one on which we have agitated is Namo TV, which is clearly violating the section 156 of the Representation of the People Act by beaming electronic signals in violation of the RP Act within 48 hours of the first round of elections. It has not stopped beaming. So there are half a dozen instances relating to Namo TV only. In addition to that, we have raised other issues like the Prime Minister's speech at Wardha. Others have raised questions about the Prime Minister's speech at other places where he has crossed the red line. Now, these are instances that need to be attended to. We have raised instances. We are not against the commission as such. It is a travesty of truth to say we are against the commission. The commission consists of retired officers like us, and we know exactly the pressures under which they function. But we have seen that the present commission has not been able to stand up. But the two incidents that have happened between yesterday and today are rather heartening, and they deserve our congratulations. All we are saying is that please maintain this tempo. You have to maintain your moral authority on a regular basis over the political system. Otherwise, it will gobble us up.
Take it point by point. Mr. Sircar, wait. We've got you on a bad connection. It's bad mobile network, so we're getting that fixed. Mr. Krishnamurthy, he has a serious problem with that Prime Minister's speech. Do you think the Prime Minister's crossed the line during the Model Code of Conduct, as has been said by Mr. Sircar right now in India Development Debate? And what did you think of the Election Commission's action? You know, we've got you here as a former member. Would you have acted differently? Did you find any objection to what the Election Commission finally decided?
Listen, actually, the Election Commission is a semi-judicial authority. It has to go through a judicial process. And when they get a complaint or when they take note of a complaint, they ask for the report from the field officers and also give an opportunity for the person against whom it's complained to give his detail or their version. Now, be that as it may, if these replies are given and examined, the Election Commission cannot take a decision within 3 or 4 days. Supreme Court and even the courts take election petitions beyond 5 years. Even the term of the House is over. So when important issues are involved, particularly of a senior person in any political party, you have to go through the pros and cons and take a view. It's just not a single member body, it's a three-member body.
It's a very pointed question. I understand it's a semi-judicial body, but I'm asking you a very pointed question. From the point that was raised by Mr. Sircar, was it handled the way maybe you would have handled it when you were at the Election Commission?
No, see, I cannot answer this question unless I know the full facts. You cannot place me there without even giving me the full facts. What is the reply given by the party? And the Election Commission will certainly take a view. Whether they have taken a decision certainly can be challenged in the court of law. But to say the Election Commission is losing its ability on some of these decisions, I'm afraid it is not fair.
Let me go to Mr. Sircar, who's actually is a signatory. Let me come to Mr. Sircar now. This has been one of the most fiercely fought election. I don't know if you can call it a graceful one or a dignified one, but Mr. Sircar, what I also want to understand from you, and going beyond the letter as well, since Sanjay Jha has brought up black money, I have to also address the elephant in the room, the income tax rates that took place. You did see the Chief Election Commission swing into action, question and say, keep us in the loop when you're carrying out tax rates, right? The Election Commission had to come out with a reply. The Revenue Department had to come out with a reply. On that count, you don't think the Election Commission acted in the right way? And I have to also ask, when there has been significant recovery, so once cash is actually recovered to close aids of the Chief Minister, how can it be discounted just because it's election time?
We have never said that the Election Commission is totally at fault. We have pointed out 5, 6 specific instances where the Election Commission could have been tougher, and we insist that what we have mentioned is on the basis of the law and experience. I'm coming back to Namo TV for half a minute. Namo TV is reportedly beaming electronic signals even now within 48 hours of the first phase of the polls, which is in clear violation of Section 126 of the RP Act, Representation of the People Act. Is the Election Commission taking it up? There are specific questions. We have raised issues to bolster confidence in our colleagues so that they are able to realize that this is just not an ordinary election. This is an election where things are going out of hand and they need to blow the whistle. We are not against the Election Commission. That is not the impression. We have pointed out at instances where they could have and should have acted tougher. Some of them are in present continuous tense. Some of them, like that Eros bio documentary, is in the past tense. So we have not gone on a tirade against the Commission. For God's sake, that is never the impression we would like to give. We are supporting the Commission when it takes neutral and tough actions, irrespective of which political parties is involved.
Let's go to a former election commissioner chief. Let me go to Mr. Krishnamurthy. So the 66 bureaucrats have not gone on a tirade. They have raised instances of when the election commission could have behaved differently. Mr. Krishnamurthy, I want to go back to the Namo TV, which Mr. Sircar says that it's still beaming when you have elections tomorrow. But the fact is, the ruling came out only today by the Election Commission. This has been a political hot potato. It is, finally the Election Commission has acted. Do you think it might have been under pressure? It was facing flack, whether letters were being written to the president or, it didn't act when the income tax rates were taking place the way it should have. But again, I would like to caveat, how should it act when cash is also being recovered? Would you have acted differently?
Of minutes only to speak. But first, I want to address Mr. Sanjay's point. He says the election can debar the Prime Minister. Under what provision of the Model Code of Conduct or the Representation of People's Act, the Election Commission can debar any person? He doesn't know that there is no law to debar anybody. I have been asking for debarring or disqualifying voters as well as candidates. Unfortunately, none of the political parties have taken serious note of these suggestions. Secondly, as far as the Namo TV is concerned, if there is a violation, action has to be taken. But you can fight by finding fault with only certain delays in the Election Commission. But what about those where they have taken action? Have you praised them? It's just because you want to criticize the Election Commission, you want to criticize. What about good action taken by the Election Commission? So many cases they have taken action against them.
Okay, so Mr. Sircar, I'm going to give you the final comment now.
You see, we had raised certain events. There are two events that have taken place in the last 24 hours that are very encouraging. We congratulate the Election Commission for taking a tough stand. We make it clear that we are not against the Commission. And I would like to place on record that Mr. Vaibhav Agarwal's allegations are nonsensical. That's the minimum word that I can use. That's only. Now, coming back, we are not against the Commission. I am trying repeatedly to explain to some people. We had raised certain instances. We are raising some instances. The whole idea is to encourage the Election Commission to act upright, to act fearless, and also to ensure fair play. The Election Commission's Model Code of Conduct is primarily a moral authority. It's a huge amount of strength where you don't resort to clericalism by asking that department for a report or this department for a report. You act with the moral authority, you act as a fair referee, and for God's sake, keep blowing the whistle until they listen.
Okay, gentlemen, my producer is telling me that we're out of time, so I have to thank all of you for joining us. But you know what? The voter will, of course, have the last word. The voter is going to have the last laugh too. So let's see what happens. We'll know on May 23rd. Till then, it's a wrap on this edition of India Development Debate. Tomorrow, of course, a very big day. It's the start and the first day of Battle 2019. Many thanks for watching.